Hello, all, and welcome to a Cambridge University Land Society fireside chat. I'm very pleased to introduce you to Professor Franz Fuerst today, who is going to be my guest. My name is Ami Kotecha. I am the president of the Land Society, and it is a great pleasure today to have Franz speak to me because he has been a wonderful CULS fellow for many, many years, right up till this summer. So, before I hand over to Franz to tell us about himself and what he's enjoyed in terms of being a CULS fellow, I'd like to give him a proper introduction. Franz is Professor of Real Estate and Urban Economics at the Department of Land Economy and is a Fellow and Director of Studies at Trinity Hall, University of Cambridge. He has enjoyed a close and very special relationship with us, CULS, which is the short form for Cambridge University Land Society, as our CULS Fellow for over a decade now, right up until this summer. Franz has very kindly offered to talk to me about his time while being a CULS Fellow. But I thought it'd be really fantastic, Franz, if we can first kick off this discussion, this fireside chat, by you telling us about you as a person. What really brought you into academia? You've been, you've stuck it out for so long, so it must obviously be exciting and you must love it. But I'd love to hear the backstory. What made you so keen to get into academia? And then, of course, what brought you to Cambridge?
Thanks, Amy, and thanks for the invite and giving me the opportunity to review the many years that you mentioned already that I've been associated with CULS and hopefully for many years to come in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, looking backward on my academic journey, I think, yeah, in hindsight, it seems like a straight line, but at the time it was anything but. And I think possibly many people can relate to that. It all makes sense now how it came together, and CULS was a part of it. I think what I've always had was a curiosity about many things, not very narrowly defined, but many things. And what better place to be in than in a built environment kind of setting as the land economy department and yeah, also other departments, but land economy in particular represents. So I can clearly see looking back that that's always been there. So this curiosity element, finding out about how things work and an interest in many things.
And,
Um,
and
yeah.
were you in this field before you came to Cambridge, if I may ask, already?
Yes, I was. So actually, I started my studies in psychology and then moved on to urban planning and did my undergraduate and graduate degrees there, but then did my PhD in economics. So quite a mix there, and I guess that underlines what I just said about an interdisciplinary interest and also being exposed to academic cultures in various countries. So I did my undergraduate and graduate degrees in Germany, um, and then also had the opportunity to spend a few years abroad in the United States, in New York in particular, which is a fantastic laboratory for anything urban. Uh,
Absolutely.
and yeah, other countries like Canada, Australia, also in the context of sabbaticals. So yeah, that's the other beautiful thing about studying cities is that you can actually go there and study your your topic in depth and actually by experiencing them and immersing yourself in them, which is not something you can do in all fields of study. So
Absolutely. And we forget how the world of real estate is properly intertwined across the planet. And, the scope is massive, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
the similarities and the parallels one can draw are also quite interesting from different parts of the world.
Yes, the similarities, but also the differences, and
Correct.
that's what makes it so fascinating and as a field of study. Yeah. So yeah, before I came to Cambridge, I was at Henley Business School for four
Mhm.
years. one of the other places for Cambridge.
One of
Uh,
many.
Before then, I had a brief stint into industry for about 2 years, but then decided that although it gave me fascinating insights and gave me a more complete view of real estate and real estate as an academic subject, I decided that I was an academic at heart. And then when the opportunity at Henley Business School, Reading University popped up, I leaped at it, and yeah, and yeah, haven't looked
Fantastic
back.
for all the students
Yeah.
that actually got to hear you hear your views and to sit in the classroom while you were delivering lectures and tutorials. So lucky them. Um, so moving on then to your work at Cambridge, and you've already mentioned it before, and you're extremely well known. You're probably one of the most well known urban economics professors working at the intersection of what we now really understand, hopefully, much better than we did when you started out, which is the intersection of real estate, finance, and sustainability. And I was looking through some of the some of the work that you've written, and fascinating stuff. One particular publication caught my eye which has a very catchy title. It's called "Green Noise or Green Value: Measuring the Price Effects of Environmental Certification in Commercial Buildings." I love that title, Franz. And you wrote that in 2008. First in McAllister is how it was published. And you stated something so meaningful at that time, all that year. I mean, I don't know where you got the data from. You must have worked super hard to collect that data, which all seems very obvious today, but I can just imagine what a big mountain that must have been in terms of how you managed to get to it. But at the end of it, you shared some very meaningful insights about price premia for certified green buildings. This is commercial buildings vis-a-vis non-certified buildings. And then you've gone on to build your thesis in housing as well, talking about EPC ratings and how they impact house prices and house valuations. Given all the work you've done, very impactful work, and by the way, we are doubly glad to have had you as a CULS fellow because of the impactful work that you've been involved in. I mean, you're not just any other real estate academic. You're someone who's really tried to bring climate change and mitigation and adaptation and all the very important things that we all need to be thinking about today into play, and discussing them in a very evidence-based manner, which is really critical at the end of the day. So my question to you is, after all of this work and the amount of research you've done, what do you think has been your biggest impact on, in terms of what has been your biggest impact on the industry, on the built environment sector? And, tell me frankly, have we really grasped it, or are we still, really not clear about what we should be doing as an industry?
Right. Thanks, Amy. I should preface whatever I'm going to say next with you're giving me too much credit because academic research is always a collaborative
Of
effort, and
course.
especially in my case with wonderful co-authors and the giants of the past that whose shoulders I'm standing on. So yeah, I'm shy to accept the compliment, although it's very kind. Um, in terms of what made the biggest impact, well, I would say, and yeah, you were right in saying back then it was a big mountain to climb because the world has changed dramatically when it comes to data availability. And back then, I remember 15, 16, 17 years ago, data was very hard to get, especially on in terms of sustainability
Mhm.
metrics. So what we had to work with, and this was brand new at the time, was green building labels. And that information just came out at the time, tagging buildings in the US, commercial real estate buildings in the US, on whether they were LEED or Energy Star certified. So this was the opportunity that we saw in actually identifying green buildings. And obviously, it's just a rough measure, and there are all sorts of things that are not entirely accurate about it. You could be a green building and not have a label, and you could have the label but not really live up to it entirely, and all those problems. But it gave us a first measure of sustainability in buildings at a broader scale, and not just one or two case studies that also have their justification when looked at in depth, but actually robust statistical evidence that we were able to present. And that's what we did, starting well with that publication, Green Noise or Green Value, that was published in Real Estate Economics eventually after rigorous peer review. So it was actually 2011 is the official publication date in the journal. For some reason, it's attracted many citations, more than any of my other studies. But yeah, that's part and parcel of the publication game. You never know which ones will actually have great academic impact and which ones you think are the big hits and maybe don't get as much attention as you thought they would. But yeah, to get back to your question about the biggest impact and have we got it yet and have we grasped it? Um, my answer is optimistic. I think that when I observe industry, academics certainly, that sustainability has become um, integrated into the mainstream. So when I compare the situation today to what it was like 15 years ago, it was still sustainability, climate change, those issues were still a bit niche, and there was a lot of convincing to do with yeah, people in industry, but academics as well. They were very skeptical, and I guess rightly so. It's always good to be skeptical. I always tell students, question everything. That should be your mantra, more or less. And that's fine. But I think we've moved on and really turned a corner in terms of the fundamental debate on whether sustainability also has a value proposition or a green business case. I think that's almost undisputed, and there are so many disputes that are still unresolved. And yeah, we just need to open any newspaper to see what's going on in terms of also pushback against some of these propositions, be it ESG, sustainability, and otherwise. But I think that part, and which I was hoping to contribute also, that there is such a thing as a green business case in real estate. That's pretty solid, and it reflects itself at many levels. So in housing, in green retrofits, for example, and how they can add substantial value to a building, all the way up to large multinational real estate companies and what they do to go net zero, and how they don't just do it as a philanthropic endeavor, but actually as part of their core business and part of their bottom line, and also the financial bottom line. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the part that I maybe made a tiny contribution to. Obviously, lots of others as well.
I think a very wonderfully important one because, like you said, the the green building case can be a philanthropic case, but the green building business case is a commercial decision. And we have seen, I mean, I'm sure you know, I'm a founder of a company in the living sector, and we have buildings in Southern Europe as well as now more so in Northern Europe. And we haven't been in any single investment in the last 6 years where we have not delivered outstanding green certification. And like you said, that's because it's a good business case. It's not because it's a philanthropic, or it's a purposeful journey, of course, and one wants to make it a purposeful journey in anything one does. But it is very much the energy efficiency aspect of buildings is fundamental to be to gain the right valuations at exit, and there's no question about that. So thank you for that, and thank you for making this incredible contribution and getting Cambridge onto that journey all those years ago. Um, you know, it, obviously, I'd like to give due credit, like you suggested, to your colleagues and your teammates as well in getting us all there. But it's always good to see the university at the forefront of these discussions. In terms of impact, then, what a different aspect of impact is, of course, your work as an academic professor. And as you know, CULS is a membership organization. We attract alumni from all departments of the university. That might not be well known, but that is the case as long as they have an interest, or, a professional interest or a job or a career in the built environment sector. And I hope that that intersectionality of CULS continues to grow, because we are a multidisciplinary sector, as you rightly pointed out. In terms of your impact then as an academic professor, this is going to what your students decide to work in. How do you encourage and enthuse these young people to consider a career that is in this area, that involves green buildings, that involves good real estate growth, rather than simply putting up buildings that are or simply creating assets that are not worthy of the long term? How do you go about stressing the importance of that quality and that kind of professional thinking in them?
Excellent question, and one that I've changed my stance on a little bit over the years. But I think the most obvious one, and the one that stood the test of time for me, was to point out the long-term nature of built environment interventions of any sort. So not to put the students under undue pressure, but what I'm trying to convey is what you do in the built environment matters a lot. Obviously, in other fields, people do important things as well. But I think one characteristic of built environment jobs is buildings that get built, they're going to be around for a long time. As we always say, the city of tomorrow is already 98% built in most cases. Because of the extreme durability of buildings, but not just of buildings, but the entire urban fabric. So if you look at cities like, well, pretty much any city that's been around for a while, sometimes the street grid goes back hundreds or even thousands of years, right? That's how durable that blueprint is in the city, and how hard it is to change. So that's, to me, the number one proposition for sustainable thinking, right? Because it's not just if you make a mistake, it can be erased easily. It's going to be there. So it matters a lot. It's hard to make a U-turn on, or amend later on. So it requires careful thinking, and I think that underpins the whole sustainable thinking context. And then if that sounds like a bit like putting a bit of pressure on it, I would add to that that you also have an incredible opportunity as built environment professionals, really to shape the lives of many, many people with what you do, and also for the better. So another strand of my research, and that's more recent, is on health, in particular physical health and the built environment, so indoors and outdoors. And as we know, there are lots of negative examples. So how air pollution can have a negative impact, and actually there are lots of excess deaths completely unnecessarily. People die before their time due to air pollution, both indoor and outdoor, but also all sorts of other physiological pathways that we're just beginning to understand that are shaped by the environment. So that's another thing that we're just becoming conscious of. But yeah, another reason for built environment professionals to engage with this task and think carefully, and not just be driven single-mindedly by one particular consideration. So
I,
I'll stop there. I could go on for a
no,
long
it's
time, but
absolutely, I can
getting
see you're totally passionate about this. And that's probably one of your biggest draws to remain as an academic. I can see that. Um, and you know what you say is so profoundly true that the decisions we make in the real estate sector impact generations, um, directly impact generations in terms of how we work, we live, and like you said, the contribution or the that we make to air pollution or the lack of air pollution can or you know the control of air pollution that we can bring in are all so critically important in our thinking, and as is collaborative thinking. I mean, climate change and air pollution and all of this is a team sport. So we've all got to be stakeholders in that team sport and, you know, do our bit, which is what I always say, for starting from the individual to the corporation and to the government. So yeah, I am hoping that we'll have lots more young alumni joining CULS, and you know we'll have the interest that you have in actually turning this into a proper business case in industry. So thank you for sharing that. And my last and most important question to you, of course, is about your being a CULS Fellow. I've said before, and I'll say it again, that we are so appreciative of all the great work and all the effort that you've put in and the contribution that you have made all over the years to CULS by contributing and participating at events, by sharing your experience in more ways than one, by writing in our magazine art, you know, for a magazine, and in so many different ways. What have you taken away from your time at CULS? Tell us a little bit about what you enjoyed and also perhaps what you didn't enjoy so much or what we could do better.
thanks. Well, the appreciation is definitely mutual. As I've said before, CULS has been a really big part of the, well, about 15 years I've been at Cambridge, um, and for various reasons. So what I've enjoyed is, and what I really think is a big strength of CULS is it feels like more than an alumni organization, right? Where I've experienced other alumni organizations elsewhere, and sometimes they feel like, okay, they do network events and they're really like a liaison between your alma mater and and the individual alumni. But Carl's always felt more like a big family also. It has that personal touch. And that's particularly impressive, keeping in mind that I think it's still the case. It's the biggest alumni association in Cambridge. So you'd think it might be a bit anonymous and big, but it always felt like a big family. The other thing that I also find impressive is that it's not just kind of a one-way street of alumni and an organization like a university, but it draws in people from, um, well, it's been supporting the department for many years, so staff, current students, and as you said, anyone who's really interested in built environment topics with all the amazing events that you stage. And it's also open in that sense, and it's not like a backroom club where you uh, you know, that's kind of sealed off from the real world. But it's open and it's engaging and fostering a broader societal debate with all the events that are staged, and it's really got that um, open-mindedness to it, also to all sorts of views, and that you can find yourself represented, whatever, whether you're an architect, whether you're in real estate finance, whether you lean politically one way or another, or don't lean at all politically. So I really enjoyed that. I don't really have anything negative to say. Um, the one thing that I observed over the years is obviously that it's got a bit of a UK focus still, and within the UK, a London focus. And that's not always easy for people, even who are almost within striking distance of London, like myself, to go to an 8 o'clock breakfast event. So yeah, I can see why that happens for purely logistical reasons, because most of the members are in central London work-wise or otherwise. And if you want an in-person event, then yeah, London always comes out as the most logical place to be and not somewhere else in the world. But what I'm thinking maybe is, and as the society is still growing and our graduates becoming more diversified geographically, that maybe a bit of decentralization could also work. So not taking away from the strength of the membership in London, but maybe also have something like regional chapters or events, maybe even in different cities on different continents. As a hopefully that's not too much of a crazy vision. And the other thing might be, and I think we've already tested this during the pandemic, more hybrid events. So I'm a big fan of them. Not everyone likes them, but when I organized or co-organized the webinar earlier this year on PropTech, one of the things that really made it easier for us to find excellent speakers also was that it was a webinar and not an in-person event. And we were also able to invite people from all over the world. So maybe that's one way of going about a diversification strategy. So yeah, that's all I would say.
Thank you,
It's not a
Franz.
criticism, just an observation. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fine. And thank you so much. You really flooded us with comments. I'm, almost sitting here blushing and thinking, like, goodness, CULS is amazing. It is intergenerational, like you said, it's engaging, and it does more than a big job for alumni. Well, your feedback is very timely because we have launched a regional chapter out of Cambridge. So there's going to be a regional forum. And also, we're taking on this feedback very seriously about increasing our digital reach. I think both of these are really, really important. And we take it on absolutely seriously. We want to be a part of our alumni's lives wherever they are in the world, and we want to make that, we want them to have that connection back with CULS. Like you said, we are one big family. I'd like to thank you so much today for joining me and sharing your thoughts and giving me your time. We really appreciate you as a CULS fellow. It's been a wonderful journey to have you on for all those years. You said 15, we were not counting, we were just enjoying. So thank you very much. Please stay connected with us. And to an audience, this is a recorded session. So to all of you CULS members who have enjoyed listening to or who have enjoyed Franz as a CULS fellow and who know him, but to others who don't know him so well, please listen to this recorded session. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll be also distributing widely on social media. So I'm sure you'll get a hold of it. And with that, I'd like to say thank you, Franz, and have a great afternoon, and we'll be in touch.